You're locked into the Womanore Crush Wednesday podcast, the only weekly podcast inspiring, educating, motivating 1 million women entrepreneurs one Wednesday at a time. The WCW podcast is fueled by the purpose formula: passion plus purpose plus profit equals success. And here are your hosts, Jen and Modi.
You are listening to episode 11 of the Womanore Crush Wednesday podcast. We're going to be talking to Stacey Flowers in this episode, our Mom Boss Crush of the week for our Mother's Month movement. Stacey Flowers makes people believe happiness. I mean, she's happy, really, really happy. She's transformed herself from a depressed teenage mother into an author, international speaker, and one of the happiest people on the planet. She's an inspirational messenger, giving powerful presentations and keynotes to both corporate and student audiences alike on the topics of personal leadership, academic success, and empowerment. She dedicates her time daily to making people happy. Stacey is not only a speaker, but a business strategist and author, known for connecting happiness to peak performance. Stacey has navigated both the corporate world and the professional world and is a savvy, fabulous entrepreneur. She published her first book in 2012 called Pregnant with Purpose, and she's also published 2 additional books, The Happy Factor, 5 People You Need to Succeed, and God Wants You to Be Happy, 3 Keys to Less Stress, More Joy, and Finding Your True Purpose. Stacey holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in human resources from Loyola University. She's experienced in corporate consulting and motivating people of all ages on all audiences. She dedicates her time to inspiring others to discover their passions and purposes through her work as a life coach. She truly believes that happiness and personal development are world-changing tools, and that happiness is the ultimate luxury. Crushes, I know that this episode is packed with tons of gems, and it was amazing to talk to Stacey. She just exudes happiness and purpose. She's probably one of the most purpose-connected, purpose-filled people that I've ever spoken to. So enjoy this episode, and we'd love to hear your feedback either on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, and if you leave a review on iTunes, that's how we know you're enjoying all the things that we're putting out. Thank you. Enjoy. Hey Crushes, this week we're thrilled to have Stacey Flowers, a TED Talk speaker, author, as our WCW of the week. Welcome, Stacey, to the WCW podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored and excited to be here. This is really amazing.
Thank you. We're honored to have you. So, Stacey, could you tell us your Womanore story and just a background of what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. I've always been an entrepreneur. So what I'd like to tell people is I actually started my first legitimate business right after I finished my master's degree. So that was about almost 7 years ago, was when I started my first legitimate business. But I had always been dabbling in entrepreneurship and businesses since I was little. So my very first company was a hairstyling company called Styles by Stacey. And I had like high profile clients, like my pastor's wife. She was like my highest profile like client. I would do her hair for Mother's Day and stuff like that. And I would do people's hair for prom. So I've always kind of just been interested in commerce and business and entrepreneurship. And then my mom, she had her own company when I was growing up. And so I think I was also maybe unconsciously inspired by her having her own company. And so then as I was going through school and navigating, I thought I was going to work in corporate America, but I think I always had a dream of eventually having my own firm, and road got windy, and then I eventually was just like, you know what, if I'm going to max out on all of the financial goals that I want to have, and I'm going to max out on the level of impact that I'm going to have in the world and the difference that I'm going to be able to make, I'm going to have to do this entrepreneurship thing for real. So then I took a leap of faith and started my first company. Did that for about a year and a half, closed that up to do the work that I do now, which is traveling around the world, inspiring people to live happy. So it's been a bit of a windy road, but I think it's always just been a fire inside of me since I was a little girl.
So, Stacey, can we just back that up a little bit, and then can you break down and tell us how you actually made that transition? Were you working full time and then saved up? Did you have some money stashed away, saved up? Like, how did you make that transition? Did you plan it out? What was it? Did you just quit?
Right. So my transition, it was sort of sudden. I have mentioned that like I've always had sort of the entrepreneurial spirit, but it actually came about because at the time I was working full time as a training and development employee. I loved the work. I got to create training programs for this corporation, and it was really, really great work. And there was a woman who was at one of my sessions, and she came up to me and she was just like, I need you to come and work for me. And I was like, no, I really love my job. Like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing here. But also simultaneously, while I was doing this, because I had just completed my master's, I was trying to figure out, what was going to be next for me in my life. I was reading all of these books about legacy and wealth and money management and different things like that. And in one of the books, it had mentioned that the 2 easiest ways to become a millionaire were to either own a natural resource or have your own company. And so of the 2, I thought it would be easier to establish my own company. So the wheels started to turn in the back of my mind. Okay, you've done all these sort of side hustles, under the table sort of things. What would it look like if you actually had your own company? But I kind of shelved it for a little bit. But then the woman who was in my session, she came back again and she was just like, you really should come work for our company. And I was just like, I love what I'm doing right now. I'm not interested in being an employee anywhere else. And she was just like, oh, well, it's interesting that you say that because we don't actually have the bandwidth to hire an employee. Actually, what we're looking for is someone to do some independent contracting work. So you would actually have to have your own company and then we would just partner with you. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, ding, 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 like immediate revenue stream. And so I want to say within the week, I had filed for incorporation papers, started my human resources consulting firm, and it instantly became like a junior level consultant. And then I partnered with this senior HR firm that at the time when we had drawn up the contract, we drew up a contract for, I want to say, anywhere between $65,000 to $70,000 worth of work. And it was like a mutually beneficial partnership. So like that sort of transition didn't require me having to have a savings. It didn't require me really having to flesh out too much because I was really the person coming on board to do junior level work, and they were the larger organization wanting to develop deeper relationships and start new relationships with your company. And so it was just this mutually beneficial thing. So my first legitimate company was like off and running within a week. They also gave me like a bonus because like my first contract was this really big company that they had been trying to work with for a while, and I was able to help them secure it. So I would say it was more of a suddenly transition than it was like the savings. But I want to say I had done the like the work of like knowing that this is what I was eventually going to get to this place. So there was always a part of me that was headed towards entrepreneurship. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. Yeah. And then after my consulting company, I had done that for a while. And the speaking thing, that actually came up because I had always in the background sort of spoken at like workshops or at my college, or just anytime there was like an opportunity to give a speech, they would be like, oh, ask Stacey. She likes to speak. So for me, I was like, speaking isn't a real job. That's just something that I like to do. I'm not going to be a speaker. But then all of my friends kept telling me that I was like a really good speaker, and they kept telling me that I was like this gentleman named Jonathan Sprinkles, and they were just like, you're like the female version of Jonathan Sprinkles. And I was like, who is this Jonathan Sprinkles character? So I like Googled him, and he was amazing, and I was like, oh my gosh, speaking is a real job. Like I can be Jonathan Sprinkles. So I was like, well, I'm not 100% for sure. But then again, reading through some of that materials, I had gotten to a point in my research where I learned the difference between exchanging dollars for hours versus exchanging ideas for dollars. And so still with the idea of wanting to increase my impact and my influence, but also wanting to make a legacy, a financial legacy for my family, I said, okay, I need to make the transition from selling my hours to selling my ideas, and becoming a speaker enabled me to do that. So having researched Jonathan Sprinkles, I went and just bought all of his stuff, went to all of his things until he became my speaking coach and sort of started my transition from my consulting firm to my speaking company also very suddenly. So.
And that's where you are now, entrepreneurial. Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome. So going to public speaking, you just did a recent TED Talks presentation that you talked about the 5 people that you need to be happy. And I have let me tell you, when I first watched that TED Talks presentation, you said it one time. When you said all of them, I don't know, I just automatically memorized them. So when I spoke with Jen, and I think I spoke with my husband about it, I was like, a cheerleader, a mentor, a coach, friend, and a peer. But you have to get the peer and the friend. She has to explain the friend and the peer to you, you know? So it's so funny because now I'm asking if you could explain these to our crushes so they could understand.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the TED Talk was based on, again, research that I had been doing. I had always studied success and happiness, and it sort of ties a little bit to my story. So I became a mom when I was 17 years old and a senior in high school, and first in my family to graduate from high school. And so my early years of starting adulthood and just adulting in general, it was, again, I guess, a suddenly. Maybe that's a thing for my life. I don't know. But, it was suddenly. Yeah, like I was just thrust into life and, you know, wanting to provide a good life for my son. I was like, I have to consume information and live it faster than any other human being on the planet. And so I'm like fumbling through life trying to figure things out. And as I'm researching and applying things to my life, I'm trying to figure out how all these things work. And when I had transitioned into speaking and I was developing speeches and things like that, people would want me to come out and inspire and motivate them. And I would tell them these stories, and I would always come back to the people that you are spending your time with. It's impacting your life, because it was true in my own life, but it was also true in sort of the way I raised my son and how I moved about. And so in me really trying to focus on this whole relationship piece, I was just like, what if people could just connect with the people that actually help them to be successful, that actually help them to be happy? And I just remember being at home one day and looking over my life and saying, these were the critical people, and these are the people that we underestimate. And so the one that I talk about the most and usually first is the cheerleader, because he or she is highly underestimated. But the cheerleader is the person who roots for you and believes in you when you cannot believe in yourself. And so whether or not you're on this entrepreneurship path or you are just trying to do any sort of thing audacious in your life, there are going to be moments, no matter how awesome your idea is, where you're not going to believe in yourself, and you're going to need someone who is committed to you being aggressive and you winning and you taking another shot and you doing all of that stuff. And so that's sort of where the cheerleader came from. Also was a little bit of a cheerleader in high school, so it's probably a throwback to that as well.
Oh, yes.
Then also the cheerleader, that person who, when you're on the right path, because again, with me being a teen mom and me sort of navigating this space and trailblazing in my family, I also found that when I was on the right path, I needed someone encouraging me consistently when I was on the right path, because the right path is lonely. Like, sometimes you feel like you're the only person out here making healthy, sound decisions, and this cheerleader is that person who's just like, yes, that was a great layup, do it again. Like, yes. You know, they just keep pushing you. So that's the first person. And then the second person that I talk about is the mentor. And when you watch the TED Talk, you'll see that I anchor it on the hand, because also I want people to understand how accessible success and happiness is. It literally can be achieved with you reaching out and extending your hand to these 5 key people. So you'll always remember the cheerleader because she's on your thumb. So thumbs up, cheer, rooting for you. And then your mentor, or the second person, is on your index finger, because this is the person who points you in the right direction. And for me, again, because I was parenting, I was in school, I was, entrepreneurial, I was trying to, do all of these different things suddenly and quickly in my life. I actually had a lot of mentors. And when I was first trying to explain to people how they were my mentors, I got a lot of resistance because people were like, well, this person can't be your mentor because of that. They can't be your mentor because of this. And I was just like, I'm just going to have to come up with my own definition because I need a mentor. I need someone to help me to understand how to do motherhood well. But that's not necessarily the person who's going to help me to do business well. And that's also not the person who's going to help me to do school well. But I need someone guiding me in these different areas that's not my friend, that's not coaching me, that's not cheering for me, but they're literally pointing me in the right direction. I need someone to say, this is how you raise a young African-American boy. This is how you get straight A's. This is how you build a successful company. And so the mentor piece was really built on, instead of the mentor adapting and becoming like this coach sort of person who you can't turn to, it's really this person that you can confide those fears and those frustrations into so that they can lift you up and then point you in the right direction. And I think right now, especially with how accessible everyone is because of the internet, there's so many people thinking that they want like a coach or they want a cheerleader when really they just want a mentor. They really want somebody pointing them in the right direction. So in the TED Talk, I encourage people to consider, you know, when you're listening to someone pointing you in the right direction, don't listen to 5 different people pointing you in 5 different directions, all in the same area. Pick someone for whatever area of life that you need direction and let them guide you. Listen to their podcasts, read their books, read their blogs, listen to all of their stuff, and you'll go in a particular direction. So that's the second person. Then your coach is on the middle finger, aggressive, abrupt, a little bit uncomfortable because your coach, your coach is, their purpose is to kick you out of your comfort zone. And I make the distinction between a coach and a mentor because people lump them together, but they can't be the same person, because you can't sometimes push me and point me, because then I'm offended and I'm hurt and I'm damaged and I'm going through stuff. But your coach don't care what you're going through. If you had a fitness coach, they don't care that you're emotionally eating. You are paying me to help you lose 10 pounds. So I don't really care about your feelings. But your mentor might care about your feelings, and they might adapt as they're pointing you. Your coach, it's not about your feelings. It's about the facts. It's about where you're saying where you want to go, what you want to do, how you want to get there. It is literally about engineering the best environment to kick you out of your comfort zone so you do those audacious things that take you to the next level. And this person is critical to your happiness, because a lot of people think happiness is just like uninterrupted pleasure or things just going smooth and, you know, everything just being balanced. No, happiness is in the striving. Like, the happiest people are the people who are constantly climbing new mountains, constantly reaching new levels. Well, you can't do that if you don't have someone pushing you to higher and higher levels. So that coach person is to kick you out of the comfort zone, but also continue to encourage that sort of fire satisfaction cycle that happens with reaching for more, obtaining more, growing, developing, stretching. And then the last 2 people are your friend, who's on your ring finger, because that person's connected to your heart, and then your peer, who's on your pinky finger. And the joke is that your pinky is all that like social, those things that you need, where you just need all of your digits so that you can make things happen, right? But these 2 people are important as well, because especially nowadays with how much people need to be validated, sometimes our friendships are not as authentic as we might think. And we are creating these artificial relationships, not understanding that we need a friend to hold bits and pieces of our vision. We need a friend to encourage us to be ourselves. We need someone who's connected to the true pieces of our heart to sort of keep us grounded and keep us centered and keep us close to the person that we're actually evolving and becoming. And that person is often confused with our peer, and our peer sometimes feels like a friend, but they're really about the person who's on par with you in your industry. So there are a lot of different people who speak, right? I have hundreds of speaking peers. They're not necessarily my friends. I would never call them and be like, girl, he broke my heart. But I would call them and be like, oh my God, my microphone didn't work, you know? So I would call them to discuss the professional hiccups that happen that hurt, because they're a peer. They're going to get it. They're going to understand. And while I could go to my friend for that, he or she is better equipped to support me emotionally, spiritually, mentally than she is to support me professionally, which is where the peer comes in. And so what I like to tell people is that these are the 5 key people that you need to create more success, to create more happiness. Why? Because these 5 people will pour back into you in the right place at the right time over this course of this thing called life that you're trying to live. So, and as I've been teaching it and sharing it, it's been working for people all around the world, which is super amazing.
It sure has. It truly has. As soon as I listened to it, I think I've watched it. I'm not stalking you, Stacey. I really am not. But I've watched it maybe 10 times in within 2 days. Cause I wanted to let it marinate with me, because, those 5 people, I guess I never thought of those 5 people until you brought it up and you put it in in those categories. Mm-hmm. And when you did that, I was able to say, oh, that's really my cheerleader. And like you, I've had several mentors as well, and I'm like, she's my mentor. No, she's more of a coach, and I just found myself just letting it sink in and really working towards getting a really good cheerleader, a mentor, a coach, a friend, and a peer, and I have all of that, and Jen has all of that too. We all have all of that, but just like you said, someone can go online. People can have 10 mentors online, and those people don't even know that they're your mentors.
Exactly.
And
what's important with this is that I wanted people to feel like, oh my gosh, I have that, but also I wanted you to be able to recognize the role. Because once you recognize the role, then you will go and get the right resources from that role. Right.
Okay.
You will stop going to your friend to get peer support. You will stop going to your mentor to get coaching. You will stop going to your cheerleader to get mentoring. You will get the right resources, and that is what carries you to the next level of happiness. That is what carries you to the next level of success. Yes. You can have all these people, but if you're tapping them for the wrong reason, you will experience frustration. You will experience overwhelm. You will experience stress, and you'll experience that thing that happens when you have all the right ingredients, but you're not putting it in the right order. So your cake is just so good. Like, they told me to put this in here, but it's like the order in which you apply the ingredients affects the delight that you have with your final result. And so it's music to my ears to hear that you can see that you have these people, and now knowing that I don't have to start from the beginning, you can just now take every person in your life and you to the next level by going to them for the proper things. That's so incredible.
Yes, it is. And I also wanted to ask you, so have you been drinking some lemonade lately?
Listen, you're not gonna believe this. You're not gonna believe this. Okay. So I just recently published my second book, and I just also launched the Happy Conference, which is going to be happening in October, which is one of my premier events, a live event that I'm doing, 48 Hours of Happiness.
Congratulations.
And so, I kid you not, the launch of these 2 things coincided when Beyonce decided to drop Lemonade. And so I was working on my stuff. So I couldn't stop to go watch Lemonade. So then what happened is I missed 24 hours of Lemonade. So then after I missed 24 hours, I was like, you know what? Let me finish all of my work before I go get the Lemonade. Because if I don't, I will be here sipping on lemonade, not finishing the Happy Conference, not launching my book, not doing all that stuff. So to be perfectly honest, as much as I adore her, I have not watched it because now Lemonade has turned into the reward that I get at the end, hopefully, of this week once I complete all of the stuff that I need for my team who's helping me with the Happy Conference, and for my team who's helping me with my second book. So I have, but I haven't. So I know some of it, but I don't know all of it. And I'm like, you see my TED Talk, I'm lightweight dying on the inside.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, okay, I know she's going to that Lemonade concert now.
Well, you know what? She's doing her formation concert now, so she's going to do another one right after that, and I'll probably be at that one because I have a lot of trips this year. Okay. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to to get to it. But yeah, like all of my friends are like, "Did you?" I was like, "If somebody else texts me about Beyonce, I'm gonna. Y'all know I haven't seen it. Have I updated my status? No."
That's funny.
But what I do love about what you said is that you didn't stop what you were doing, because the fandom and the fanatic about, there's a few people in this world, Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, where the fandom is, completely, crazy.
Out of control.
But you didn't stop what you were doing, and you knew that you had to finish this. Just like she knows she has to finish her lemonade, you got to finish what you're doing. So,
and she talked about that.
People don't understand that that's how Beyonce inspires me. Like,
exactly.
I'm straight up in the beehive. Don't get me wrong. Now, when I watch it, I'm going to shut down. Like, don't talk to me. Don't call me for 24 hours, because today is my lemonade day, okay? When I get to it. But right now, it's like the way she inspires me from a business woman and entrepreneur, like, it's like I want to Beyonce my industry. And the only way for me to Beyonce my industry is for me, when she does something glorious and amazing, for me to respect it by honoring the gifts and the talents and the things that I have to share with the world. And I think that I do that best by finishing what I started and then going to enjoy this thing that she continues to just drip all the time. So yeah, like it's a very healthy relationship that I have with Beyonce.
Hashtag gems. Beyonce your industry. That's like
Beyonce your industry. Yes.
That's what
So you talked about, you have these 5 people in your corner. You definitely gave us a lot of inspiration and motivation to recognize these roles, because the power in what you said for me is in the roles and getting these people into the roles, and if the person is not fitting into a role, then might have to move on. But that's another hard truth. But I want to talk about, how did you find your voice as an expert in talking about this and talking about happiness, spiritual empowerment, personal development? How did you kind of hone in on that expertise?
That was not a suddenly. That took a little bit of time. I think that, so I had always been speaking throughout college on just various different things, with people just giving me a mic and saying, "Can you talk about it?" But when I made the decision, so when I stood and put my stick in the mud and said, "I am going to be a professional speaker," I took that very seriously. So I hired a speaking coach, and I think in me hiring a speaking coach, he was immediately, not a friend, not family, somebody to just hear me the first time I'm opening up my mouth. And so as a coach, he was able to say, "Okay, you're good here, you're doing this good here, you're doing this good here." But what's interesting is when I first started talking to him, I was so still consumed by like my mess and the drama of my life that all I talked about was like being at risk and all this other stuff. So when he initially started to coach me into entering the industry, he was like, "Oh, you're going to be great for at risk. You should go be this at-risk speaker and help other teen parents not, fall prey to the teen parent statistics." And I was like, okay, it didn't really resonate with me, because I didn't like being a teen parent when I was a teen parent, so I didn't want to spend the rest of my life talking about it. But he was my coach, so I said, okay, I'm going to yield to this. And in me yielding to that, I spoke on many, many different stages. I recorded myself every single time I spoke, which if you are an aspiring speaker, I don't care if you're talking for 2 minutes, 20 minutes, or 2 hours, record yourself and listen to yourself so that you can figure out what you really have to say. And so as I was recording myself, there would be a general theme that would come up. And even afterwards, people would be like, I really thought you were going to talk about something else, but I feel really good. I feel really happy. I feel, and they would just always come back to this point of joy, this point of happiness, this point of peace, all of these different things that are naturally my personality. So I'm talking about these hard, sensitive subjects, but some kind of way it's still ending up with, you can have life, you can have all of these great, glorious things. And I did that for about 2 years, and it was uncomfortable to the point where I was like, maybe I'm not going to do this speaking thing, because I just can't talk about this for the rest of my life. And I was on the phone with one of my line sisters, and she was just talking to me, and she was just like, "Stacey, what would you talk about if you could talk about anything?" And I was just like, "Kelly, I really just want to talk about happiness. Like, that's really that's all I want to talk about. That is, all roads lead back to happiness, whether I'm talking about what's going on in the community, your purpose, corporate. Does this job make you happy? Does that man make you happy? Does this money make you happy? I can't help it. Like, that is all I see. And so she was just like, I just really think you need somebody to touch and agree with you. So I'm going to agree with you right here and right now that you are a speaker who speaks about happiness. And it was like, I don't know if you're familiar with scripture, but in the scripture it says, wherever there are two or more who agree in my name, there I will be. And if I'm there, so let it be. And we were over the phone. She agreed. I felt this overwhelming like rush of a yes. My soul was like, all right, let's do this. I'm boohoo, bucket tears, crying. Next day I got up, changed the stuff on my website. And I think on my website it was something like, Stacey Flowers will help your audience blossom and bloom, or something like that. And I changed it to Stacey Flowers is a speaker who speaks about happiness, or something like that.
Right.
And within a month, somebody saw it and they were like, we needed somebody to come and inspire our group to be happy. And it was like this old folks Jewish community home, and like they were like 89 to 102 was like the oldest person in there. And I was like, oh my God, I have to inspire the senior people to be happy. Like, what am I going to tell them? But I feel like that was sort of God testing me and saying, are you going to do this? Do you really think that you can only use this wisdom for the generation that's coming after you? Because in my mind, I was like, if I can tell someone who's lived a century, if I could teach them how to be happy, surely I can go into any organization at any time with any type of audience and do the same thing. And so a month later, I had it. I show up, and my topic was like, be happy for 365 days instead of just 1 year, right? Because they don't really know when they're going, And they loved it. They were crying. They were like, you were wonderful. I got all these hugs and kisses, and it was the yes from the universe that I needed, that this is what I was going to be doing. And so then after that talk, I did the hard work of figuring out, okay, well, how do I connect happiness to something that people need in the marketplace? Because you can't just go to the marketplace and say, you're not happy. Can't do that. So how do I connect it to the marketplace? And that is where my master's, I told you I have that in human resources, that begun to connect, because I know that burnout, stress, and overwhelm are issues that people deal with in corporations. So I started teaching your people to be happy so that they can overcome burnout, stress, and overwhelm. In the community, you usually have disengagement, lack of vision, issues like that. So I said, you should probably learn how to be happy so that you can have higher engagement and clear vision. And so I just started connecting the pain points in the different marketplaces to my topic. And anytime somebody gave me a microphone, even if they booked me to speak about something else, I still was like, I'm going to talk to you about happiness today. And through that, and through recording myself and listening to the playback, I found my voice. I figured out, what I want to say about it. What do I want to say about happiness and money? What do I want to say about happiness and vision, happiness in life, happiness in parenting? And now I'm really, really blessed to be in a position that people actually invite me to give them just that.
That's so dope. That is like, you answered like 3-4 questions, and then
I know.
No, it was good. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Stacey, you told us that you became a mother at a young age. Can you tell us, how did you get through that adversity? How did you have a community? Did you have a village? How did you, continue with your master's degree, your bachelor's degree, and then do all your entrepreneurial things?
Yeah.
Give us that journey.
Absolutely. I will tell you, I am a woman who believes it takes a village to raise a child, and I was very fortunate to have a great village, but I also think that one of the things that I did really well, that I think a lot of people who face adversity, but especially the adversity of being a young unwed parent, is that I asked for help consistently, and I asked for it graciously. So when I started college, I got pregnant my senior year. My first day of college classes, my son was 3.5 weeks old. And it just so happened that I was going to a college where mothers could live on campus with their child. So this is like a blessing inside of a blessing inside of a blessing.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm first generation and I don't know anything about college, but it just so happens that there's a college up the street from where I was born and raised that allows me to do this crazy thing of being a teen mom, but this audacious thing of being a college student in the same place. So that was an amazing foundation. But then again, with a gracious heart and consistency, I would ask for support. My son's father, during our pregnancy, I explained to him, I was like, listen, if this don't work out, I'm not doing this whole being, raising a baby by myself. I found out I was having a boy, and I was like, my son will not become any measure of statistics. This is what they say affects it. The number one thing affects it is you being in his life. So you need to explain to me what you need from me so that we can make sure that you are in his life no matter what happens between you and I. My mom, I asked for her support, and actually she was really amazing. I lived in the dorms on campus, and my mom would come to the dorm and watch my son in between classes. So in between classes, I could come downstairs or from whatever building to nurse him. So I was able to nurse my son for the first 16 months of his life because my mom and his dad would come to the dorms and sit in between, classes to allow me to be able to do that. Then progressing through college, those were the two main supports. And then when my son's father and we broke up when my son was 2 years old, that was difficult. But in us breaking up, we put forth effort to be clear that our romantic relationship was ending, but the dynamics of him being my son's father and me being my son's mother wasn't ending. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't pretty. It got bad. It got really bad. But we still always came back together in agreement on the piece about what type of child we wanted to have. But that was a lot of hard, rough conversations. When I'm talking to young parents, I tell them there was one time in our relationship where it got so disrespectful, so bad. Like, I went to jail for a little bit, and I got out, and I didn't talk to him for a year because I was like, this is bad. I can't behave like this. I can't raise a male child and speak to you like this and do this and vice versa. And so, it had gotten bad. And so I learned the lesson of forgiveness and biting your tongue and knowing which battles to fight and different things like that. And we really fought through that battle because we had agreed that our son deserved an opportunity to be able to live life. And then when I transitioned from my bachelor's degree, we had also, my son's father and we had agreed that there was going to be a time period that he would live with his father full time, because after we had broken up, we understood that in order for his father to have influence in his life, that their relationship and their bond needed to be solidified by time and exposure. And so we had decided that he would transition to live with his father when he was 5 or 6 years old. And so at the time when I was pursuing my master's, he went to go live with his father full time, which was very difficult. One of the most dramatic experiences for me, probably also for my son, but it was very, very difficult. But his father rose to the occasion, and we stuck through it. And with his father parenting him full time, that allowed more room for me to be able to figure out this master's, my company. And sometimes people ask me, how was I able to achieve so much in a short period of time? But it's because it's like I've been parenting my whole adult life. Like, I don't have time to be in my feelings scared. Like, no, I need to figure this out because I have to put food in my son's mouth. Like, I have to give some sort of reason for why I was away this time. Like, I can't just be, I don't feel like doing this anymore. No, like, this was a deep sacrifice for my family, and that really, 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 really pushes me. But I say all that to say, definitely takes a village, but my son has an amazing father. I have an amazing mom. His grandmother on his dad's side was also really incredible, and still to this day, it's a small village that hovers around. And I think too early on, because I was young, I made the decision to allow myself to continue to grow up. So I was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And it was only from 18 to 19 that I tried to be older than what I really was. And then at 19, I was like, look, I can't do this. I'm just going to be 19. I'm just going to be 20. Because it was exhausting trying to be like a 33-year-old responsible woman. I didn't know nothing about that life. So I had to let go of the facade that I was someone else other than who I was and where I was in my life. And that, combined with the village, enabled me to make some really audacious moves. And my faith played a big role in that as well.
That's really good advice. You can't get through anything without faith, I believe. But Stacey, we are celebrating motherhood, and that's one of the reasons why we have you on this show. We're celebrating mom entrepreneurs, and we call it the Motherhood Movement Campaign. And so for this interview, you are our Mom Boss Crush of the Week.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have two hashtags with it, hashtag Mom Boss Crush and hashtag 30 Days of Motherhood. So can you give us some of your productivity hacks or just some ideas on how there's a mom entrepreneur out there and she's really struggling trying to balance babies and business, and we just want to hear from you. How do you do it all?
Okay, I would say the number one hack is getting clear on your vision. I think that sometimes when people think about vision, they think about this super far off, like distant thing, but I'm saying, like, what is your vision for this year, for your family, for yourself, etc. And sort of the way that I break down vision is I break it down into 7 different areas of life. I talk about your spiritual area of life, your finances, your professional, your educational, your personal, your family, and your leisure. And understanding that you have these 7 different areas of your life, and you need to have some sort of intention or clear picture or image of what you want that to look like, and reach for that. And I say reach for that as opposed to reaching for all of this other stuff that they're going to try to tell you to reach for, because there's so much more that I would love to be doing this year, so much more that I would love to be involved in, trying to do, balancing, looking like, but I don't get caught up in that because I'm very clear on what my vision is for this year. I'm very clear on what I intend for my family, what I intend for myself, what I intend for my finances, what I intend for my spirit. I'm very, very clear on all of those things. So I would say that would be the number one hack, is just clarifying your vision. And then the second thing would be asking for help. What I had just shared with respect to the village, that translates into your business too. I think, and this is something that I suffered from. I suffered from perfection and also wanting to do everything myself because I'm afraid that nobody is going to understand, or if I teach them a secret in my business, they're going to steal something, or, something like that. But I think as business women and as bosses and as moms, we have to ask for support, and we have to trust that the people who show up to serve us will serve us. They're not going to steal from us. They're going to serve us. And so asking for help will give you a certain kind of peace and a certain kind of balance that you could only ever dream of. Like I mentioned, I'm launching a book. I'm doing this live event in October, but I'm not doing that by myself. And if I had to do that by myself, plus be a mom, it would just be, there would be something that would be off. So those would be the 2 things: getting very, very clear on your vision, and then asking for help and doing it in the way that I mentioned before, consistently and graciously.
Okay. So what drives you daily? What keeps you creatively inspired in your business? I mean, you have so much going on, Stacey. How are you able to juggle this and still be happy?
Right. I would say the biggest driver in my life really is my faith. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that this is what I have been put on this planet to do. And so there's something that I talk about when I'm doing entrepreneurship talks. I talk to people about the difference between passion and purpose, because people are always like, oh, it's my passion to do this. And I always, gently correct them and say, listen, passion is your willingness to suffer. Like, what are you willing to suffer for? And often you're confusing your passion with your purpose, because I'm not willing to suffer to teach people how to live happy. But your purpose is the thing that you live for. It's the thing that you wake up for. It's the thing that you take your next breath for, your purpose. And so for me, this happiness, this running around the world, inspiring people to live life, to understand that it is a gift, this is specifically what God has asked me to do. So if ever in those moments where I'm like, this is silly, this is stupid, this is not good enough, I remind myself that God created me uniquely. He put me through these experiences that I've had specifically so that I could deliver this particular message. And if I am nothing else to the world, I want to at least be a messenger for God. And that is for the most part, on most days, quite enough. And I think inside of me, knowing that I'm doing this work because it's my purpose, and knowing that I'm doing this work for God, there is incredible provision that shows up. I'm able to support my family. I'm able to reach audacious goals like paying off my student loans. I'm able to sort of live this life that I had only ever dreamed of, but that's because my driving force is God. I don't know if that sounds like too cliche, but I know that this is what I'm called to do. So it's like taking the next breath. I can't not do it at this point.
Yes.
It's definitely not cliche, because when I tell you that you just went and answered our next question, which we asked every single person on the show, but we have a mantra. We ask, what's your purpose formula? And basically we've put that into purpose, passion, profit, and success. But I mean, you eloquently gave us your purpose formula.
Well, I have a modification to that, because what I always teach is our passion, purpose, and platform. And so I talk to people about, okay, understanding your passion is the thing that you're willing to suffer for. So what am I willing to suffer for? I'm willing to suffer in order to learn. Like, I adore learning. I will sit in a master's program and stress over a thesis. I will move across country to learn. That I will suffer to gain knowledge, to gain wisdom. My purpose, that breath, the breathing, is me being a messenger for God and inspiring the world to live happy. But my platform, this is the thing that I think a lot of people sometimes sleep on, is that your platform can be in multiple different places, and that's how you deal with being multi-passionate. My platform, obviously, is the stage, but I do a mean job consulting as well, and I write books, and I have all these other avenues that enable me to display my passion and my purpose. And all of that combined together is what ultimately allows me to be able to have a profitable company. So I would say that that's probably more my purpose formula, as you have put it.
Thank you.
So, Stacey, top 3 things you would impart on someone if they were to follow your footsteps. That young lady that may be a young mom that is just trying to find herself. She really wants to do something, and she just doesn't know she doesn't have any direction, and she loves happy people, and she wants to be happy. That's her goal, but around her may be some adversity, but she wants to follow something. She wants to, just follow your type of footsteps. So what could you give her? What kind of gems could you give her? 3.
So 3 things. So the first thing I would tell her to do is to get an education, and she can start at her public library, and she can go and check out a book about something that she's interested in. I don't care if it's her being interested in hair, money, whatever. She can go to the public library and get a book and start there, because she is only going to be able to advance herself as far as the knowledge and the information that she has. So she needs somebody else to pour into her. And if she can't physically get somewhere else or connect to other people outside of the people that are around her, then she needs to be able to go get those people in her mind. And she can start with any sort of book. So if she wants to take that sort of education piece to the next level, I would highly, highly, highly encourage her to get a college education. I tell people all the time, like, education is not the only route to success, but for those of us who face additional adversity, it most certainly is the easiest. And if you're already facing adversity, if the chips are already stacked against you, like, why not take this easier route just this one go round? That would be my first advice. Educate yourself. My second piece of advice would be to, and I hesitate to say this because I know that this can go a couple different ways, but she needs to reestablish and or find her relationship with God. And I know that there are a lot of religions out there. I know that there are a lot of faith practices out there, but she needs to make sure that she is synced up with a faith that allows her to have a one-on-one relationship with God, to where when she is in her quiet space and she is by herself, she believes wholeheartedly that this thing between her and God is real, and it doesn't have to go through someone else. She doesn't need to go do this and that in order to be able to receive in here. It's like, no, you have this one-on-one relationship just as if he was your natural father, because establishing a relationship with the person who put you on this person, the creator who put you on this planet, opens up a world of opportunity and possibility to you. And so much of us being cut off and stagnant and not moving and not growing and not being able to experience this exponential sort of life is because we just don't have that critical relationship in place. And so I would say the second thing would be to establish that. And the only reason why I would tell her to go after her relationship with God, second to her education, is because in her going after her relationship with God, people get really weird and manipulative around faith and religion, and I wouldn't want her to fall prey to that on this particular journey. But getting connected to that one crucial relationship, super duper duper important. For education, establishing her relationship with God, and then I would tell her to, I would want her to finish what she started. I tell people to do that all the time. So another reason why we're stagnant, stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed is because we keep starting and we don't finish. So if she's in a place where she is getting that education, she's establishing her relationship with God, and she's also in the middle of something else, regardless of how painful it is, how frustrated, how much she can't see where it's going, finish what she started. Because what happens when you finish is the miracle of the next step shows up, and you get something called personal satisfaction, and personal satisfaction drives you to the next right door.
Are you sure you're not a preacher, Stacey? Are you sure?
I'm not. I'm not.
Because you are preaching to my soul right now.
Yeah, you in my spirit. You in my spirit.
But I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. It's funny, a friend was telling me, he was just like, you don't motivate people, you inspire people. It's from like the inside out. I said, yeah, that's because I'm talking to the soul. I'm trying to get you for this to stick for your lifetime so you can live and breathe and be happy.
This is truly your God-given gift, Stacey.
It is, truly.
It truly is.
No
because
doubt about it.
You really, crushes are going to hear this. The world is going to hear this, and they're going to feel what we're feeling right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I'm feeling right now is like, I feel like I can reach the level, like just go higher and higher. Like, yesterday after church, I felt like, okay, I'm on a new level, and now talking with you is like, okay, I'm on a new level, So it's really, I feel like, like this whole conversation, listening to the pastor yesterday and talking with you now, it's like, yeah, I'm going the right direction, which is God's plan.
Yep. That's what it's about.
And also you have a book coming out, which is called God Wants You to Be Happy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is my second book.
Okay, that's your second book. Is that included with 3 keys to less stress?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 3 keys to less stress,
more joy,
and finding your true purpose.
Yes.
Yes, because those are actually some of the main things that impede our relationship with God. So it's really a book about establishing that one-on-one relationship that I was talking about, because I'm telling you, life is meant to be good, and I don't think people understand that. And I think if people could understand and believe in a God who wants that for them, they could have that right relationship. They could have that relationship right, and then every other relationship that they have for the rest of their life then begins to be healthy and right as well. So I'm very, very excited about that book. And there's bits and pieces of my testimony in there too, because sometimes when you tell people that you speak about happiness and you make people happy, they assume you have not lived life.
Right.
This is the case at all. So I'm able to help people to understand the weaving of at least God's master plan in my own life, and how, overcoming heartache and overcoming just these difficult things in life really truly does set you up to be the exact person that you are meant to be.
Right. So can I ask you one question?
Yes.
You're so happy, right? You're like just this happy person. Have you ever come across negativity, and how do you, like a negative person, just off the rip? Just, I don't like it. I can't. I just don't. I can't deal with it. I don't want it. I don't think it's ugly. It's not pretty. I'm unhappy. I don't care. My hair look crazy. My kids look crazy. I look crazy. Everybody around me looks crazy. I'm just mad. I don't like life. I'm just upset. What am I going to do? Girl, what you want to tell me, Stacey? You can't tell. What? Like if you come across someone like that, what do you do?
What's funny is I probably come across people like that more often than what you would think. And I tell them the same thing over and over. You are 110% responsible for your life. All of the stuff that's going on in your life, all of the people that you hate, everywhere you go, you know who's always there? You. So if you don't like it, you're going to have to change it. If you don't want to change, then you must like what you're experiencing. Like, you have to accept 100% responsibility for your life, because every time you blame someone, something, some experience, you are leaking your personal power. So the reason you're mad at me because I'm over here with my happiness is because I'm holding on to all of my power. I live my power. I walk in my power. And you standing over there jealous, leaking your power everywhere, talking about you mad because so-and-so did such and such. No, accept responsibility for your role, your hand in it, and let's move forward.
Yes.
Typically, when I come back at people like that, they're like, oh, and then they let me finish talking to them. But that's where I would tell you to start. You gotta accept 100% responsibility for what's going on in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly. And typically, in situations like that, like I try to talk to people about my worst. There were seasons of my life where I was severely depressed, not mild, not sort of, severely depressed, losing all bits and pieces of my mind, literally, and not thinking there was ever a way to come back from that. And the way back, yes, there was professional help that was involved, but it really came down to me accepting 110% responsibility for the things that were going on in my life. Restore my power and enable me to be able to move about and create the life that I want.
Wow.
Impressive. Very impressive.
The power is in yourself, harnessing that power.
Yep. Always.
So Stacey, what is next for you and the Stacey Flowers empire?
So the Stacey Flowers, I would say over the next couple of years, I will continue to speak. I am moving more into the international space, so that is exciting. Last year, I went to Rwanda, Africa, which blew my mind that
Beautiful.
I would be invited to speak on leadership and happiness in that amazing country, which if you have never gone to the continent of Africa, I would encourage you to go, because, I was in Rwanda, so I was supposedly supposed to be in one of the places that was the most just underdeveloped, difficult, et cetera, places, and I went there, and it was beautiful. And it was so further advanced than I could have ever imagined, and there was just so much propaganda that I just feel like as an African-American woman, they gave me about the continent of Africa, but especially the country of Rwanda. So if you ever have a chance to visit any country in Africa, definitely go, because it is a beautiful, beautiful continent. So that's that. And then I have some more international travel coming up. I'll be speaking in Nassau, Bahamas. And so I think the big next thing is just doing more international things. I've gone all across the nation talking about happiness, and I want to start doing that on more platforms where it'll be recorded, so that way it can continue to be distributed and syndicated. But making it a lot more international, and then establishing eventually a brick and mortar company. Like, even though I want to have my own company and I enjoy the freedom of entrepreneurship, I also enjoy the village and the community, and being able to create an environment where people can work and be happy and develop their own things. So the next couple of years, making things international, and then over maybe the next 5 years, building a company that I can eventually take public, and with employees and things like that. So really big dreams for Stacey Flowers Inc. to come.
Yes. So where can you be reached? And can you give our crushes your handles?
Yes, the absolute best place to find me anywhere on the internet is at Stacey Flowers, Stacey, and then Flowers, spelled like a bouquet of roses, and that is my real name. People ask me that quite a bit. You can find my website there, my Instagram, my YouTube, and my Facebook. And I would highly encourage anyone who's listening right now to definitely connect, because you may be sitting there thinking, well, I don't have these people in my life. I don't know where to find these people. I don't know. And I'm telling you, I can at least be one of those people that I'll talk to you about. I can at least be a mentor, pointing you in the right direction towards having a little bit more happiness in your business, in your life, at the very least. And I often share other resources that have helped me along the way, and connecting to me on any one of my social handles, you will have access to that information. The people who are within my groups, and then just what's going on with my upcoming events, which always puts you in front of people to enhance your overall life. So I would definitely get connected on any of those platforms.
Okay. Jen, you have any?
No, thank you so much, Stacey, for coming on here and sharing all these gems with our crushes. You are such an inspiration, and you jinx souls with your knowledge. This is amazing.
I'm telling you, a dead soul listening to this, their soul has woken up. You best believe their soul is up.
If you are a dead soul listening to this, then you cannot remain that way after listening to this. So
yes. Thank you, Stacey, for gracing us with your presence. And crushes, remain happy.
Thanks for tuning in to the Womanore Crush Wednesday podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for Girl Talk with Jen and Modi, along with some of your favorite business crushes, more exclusive business tips, insights, creative business ideas, and doable action steps to improve your business and help you create your phenomenal life. Sharing is caring. Don't forget to tell a friend to subscribe, and stay tuned for a weekly dose of the WCW podcast. Crushing hard on the Womanore and want to hear her story on the show? Know a creative woman-owned business that's killing it? Let us know at womanorcrushwednesday@gmail.com.